In a place called the Vertical Self-Management Center, Goring awakens in a stark concrete cell marked with the number 48. His only companions are a bed, a sink, and a gaping hole in the floor, which his cellmate Trimagasi ominously refers to as the pit. This prison consists of countless floors, each identical, each housing two inmates stripped of their real names and identities by the system. Every day, food is delivered via a platform that descends through the pit, stopping briefly at each floor. The prisoners have just 2 minutes to eat whatever they can before the platform moves to the next level. The lower the floor, the less food remains, if any. Once a month, the prisoners are randomly reassigned to new floors. A cruel game of chance that determines whether they feast or starve. When Goring sees the platform for the first time, he chooses not to eat, hoping to save food for those below. Trimagasi, seasoned in the ways of the pit, mocks Goring's naivety and spits on the remnants, a spiteful gesture he assumes those above have done to him. Goring, still trying to hold on to some humanity, keeps an apple for later, only to find the room heating up dangerously. Trimagasi warns him, hoarding food is against the rules, and the consequence is death by either heat or cold. Goring quickly discards the apple, recalling the grim interview he had before voluntarily entering this nightmare, signing away his freedom for the promise of an accredited diploma. Each prisoner could bring one item, and Goring chose a copy of Don Quixote. Goring's idealism is tested immediately. He refuses to eat when the platform returns, much to Trimagasi's frustration. The old man, once obsessed with television shopping, ended up here after a fit of rage led him to accidentally kill a man. Given a choice between the pit or a psychiatric facility, he chose the pit. Trimagasi recounts his experiences on the lower floors, where starvation is inevitable, and hints at cannibalism as a necessary evil. One day, a woman named Miharu descends on the platform, injured and silent. Trimagasi advises Goring to ignore her, explaining that she searches for her lost child each month, killing her cellmates to increase her chances of being reunited with the child in the next shuffle. Trimagasi admits he has never killed anyone, but has eaten the bodies that appeared on his floor. When Miharu is attacked by the prisoners on the level below, Goring tries to help, but she effortlessly kills her assailants and rides the platform down. As the month ends, Goring and Trimagasi are gassed and wake up on a much lower floor, 171. Goring is tied to the bed, with Trimagasi explaining that it was necessary for self-preservation. Days pass without food, and eventually, Trimagasi begins to carve flesh from Goringa's leg. Before he can eat, Miharu arrives on the platform, kills Trimagasi, and frees Goring. She tends to his wounds, feeds him, and then leaves without a word, continuing her descent. Goring, left alone with Trimagasi's corpse, begins to hallucinate, haunted by the old man's ghost as he reluctantly feeds on the flesh to survive. His dreams are filled with memories of the outside world and unsettling visions. When he awakens after the next shuffle, he finds himself on level 33 with a new cellmate, Imogiri, the very woman who interviewed him. She brought her dog as her one allowed item. Imogiri is horrified by the reality of the pit, believing there were only 200 levels and enough food for all if rationed properly. She attempts to initiate a movement of solidarity, preparing rations to be passed down the levels. But her pleas are ignored. Goring, cynical and desperate, resorts to threats, forcing the prisoners below to comply by promising to defile the food if they don't cooperate. This works temporarily, but when Miharu reappears, it only leads to more chaos. Miharu kills Imogiri's dog, and a distraught Imogiri reveals that Miharu was a former actress who entered the pit alone, not in search of a child as the rumor suggested. Imogiri, who is terminally ill, loses hope and eventually hangs herself. Goring, now on the brink of madness, consumes her flesh to survive, his mind further deteriorating under the weight of guilt and despair. He is tormented by visions of his past cellmates, who urge him to continue eating to stay alive. In the next shuffle, Goring finds himself on level 6 with a new cellmate, Baharat, who is determined to escape. Baharat brought a rope, hoping to climb to freedom, but his attempt is thwarted by the cruelty of those above. Goring, now deeply disillusioned, agrees to help Baharat with a new plan, to ride the platform to the bottom, distributing food to ensure as many people survive as possible, and then send a message back to the top. Armed with makeshift weapons, they begin their descent, rationing food starting from level 50, as those above are still relatively well fed. They encounter resistance, but also moments of gratitude. As they go deeper, the situation becomes more dire, with many levels housing only corpses. At level 333, they find a child hiding under a bed of Miharua's supposed daughter. Realizing the child is the true message, Goreng and Baharat decide to protect her. However, the journey takes its toll. Baharat succumbs to his injuries, leaving Goreng to complete the mission alone. He places the child on the platform, hoping she will be a symbol of the humanity that still exists within the pit, and watches as she ascends, leaving him in the darkness below, haunted by the ghosts of those he couldn't save. As the platform rises, Goreng steps off, knowing he is not part of the message. He watches, with Trimagasi beside him, as the platform ascends into the light, carrying the last hope of the pit. Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications to catch more stories like this, carrying the last hope of the pit. Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications to catch more stories like this. Thanks for watching.